So the Democratic Party has a bit of a problem. Definitely a bit of a problem. One of the bigger ones is that they lost to Donald Trump. Well, twice out of three times, but they lost to him twice after it being seemingly apparent that there's no way that they could lose to a man like Donald Trump, but they did it twice. And in 2024, it stung even more. And, part of the Democratic strategy has been, well, we're not as bad as Republicans. We're not as crazy as Republicans. And while that may get you over the edge in some elections, those days really are just done because people are highly dissatisfied with the Democratic Party as well. Democrats may not do things like take Medicaid away from people, but they certainly don't deliver on promises either. When there's opportunities to raise the minimum wage, they don't take it. When there's opportunities to, go for a public option, at least they don't take it. They'll run on universal health care and then immediately they'll backtrack it. When there's opportunities to lessen corporate America's chokehold over the government itself, they don't take it. And you got people like Nancy Pelosi who greatly benefit from things like insider trading. It just doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. And so just because you may have less people voting for Republicans doesn't mean that more people will by default vote for you. So we read, the Democratic Party is mired in a voter registration crisis, reported the New York Times on Wednesday, falling far behind the GOP nationally in battleground states in deep red and blue states, and getting absolutely annihilated with new voters. The report, here, let's get a little bit into it. While it's true that recent trends have an increasing number of voters registered as independents or not affiliated with the party, the exodus from partisan affiliation has hit Democrats measurably harder than Republicans. And it makes sense that voter registration or that voters have been fleeing the Democratic Party more because the Democratic Party is more diverse in general. More ethnically diverse, more diverse in like sexual orientation. Democrats are more of a home for women, are more of a home for minorities. There's more diversity in our thought and approach to policy, whereas with the Republican Party, particularly right now, it's just incredibly homogenous, and it has been ethnically for quite some time, but also just in terms of their general stances on the issues, as well as their complete capitulation and surrender to the likes of Donald Trump. So it makes sense that more voters will be leaving the Democratic Party because, again, there's more diversity and the party isn't as insane as the Republican Party. Over the past 4 years, according to the Times analysis, the Republicans picked up a $4.5 million voter advantage, quote, a deep political hole that could take years for Democrats to climb out from. Very true. The Democrats have to fight. They got to get more loud with their policy positions, and most importantly, deliver. Whenever we're in office, whenever we have an opportunity, once we have consolidated the vote, we got to deliver on policy. Raise the minimum wage, make benefits better, make it harder for corporations to screw over consumers, and when they do, make the penalties even steeper. That is very important going forward. People have to feel those differences. It can't just be minor wins. And then even if they are minor wins, you got to talk about them. And Democrats do not do a good job at that. There is no silver lining or cavalry coming across the hill. This is month after month, year after year. President Donald Trump's 2024 victory owed a lot to the Democrats' lost ground in voter registration, with a significant Democrat erosion shown in the battleground states of Arizona, Nevada, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. The party, quote, the party saw some of its steepest declines in registration among men and younger voters. There's a lot of reasons for that. The Democratic Party has to do a better job appealing to just masculinity in general, particularly in younger voters. That doesn't mean we got to be cartoonish, but I think that we should have, more men who are cool, who aren't, kind of political dweebs or, like kind of metrosexual, men, like people, when you think about like kind of that masculine man, the progressives need a bit more of that. Again, it don't got to be cartoonish. It don't got to be fake. But when you're a young man, you're not particularly thinking about the cost of mortgages and rent and taxes and stuff like that. So I think we got to do a better job appealing to younger men who just, kind of want to have a good time, want to date girls, stuff like that. There's a lot more that we need to do, but that's an example of why younger men have not been interested in progressive politics, because we just simply don't do a good enough job appealing to them. Not everyone's a woman and not everybody's gay. So, you may not have a problem with women or a problem with the gay community, but that doesn't mean that you necessarily want to be steeped in it or feel like that's all that's there. So, whether you think that that's right or wrong, or whether you agree with that or not, that definitely seems to be one of the issues that the left has. Easily fixable, very easily fixable. But even outside of that, again, the Democratic Party is always losing the messaging war, and Republicans have just done a better job taking advantage of modern outlets like podcasts and different movements. And so, if the Democrats want to do better than just being better than the Republicans, if they actually want people to have hope and belief and pride in the party, they're going to have to deliver more for the working class in ways that they haven't in decades.
Hey now, thank you so much for tuning in here at Politics and Paper. If you like what I do and you support my work, go ahead and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it and it really helps to support what we do here.